A lot of things have happened since my last video, which was around the COVID situation and the factories running in Hefei based on the videos. And in the meantime, I had another project that luckily I'm now finishing a milestone, so I can come back to do more regular videos again. But anyways, what we had in the meantime was, of course, the speculation and rumor that I've covered about China's supposed opening up. Of course, this was just speculation, although from a good source. And it was interesting to see that on Monday, so far, also today, Hang Seng Index was holding up despite the fact that there was also another meeting or conference by health authorities in China saying that they're sticking to the COVID theory, zero COVID policy, sorry. And the interesting fact here is, of course, that, where there is smoke, there is a fire. So it seems like the market is slowly digesting that there is some sort of opening going to happen at some point in time, in some way that none of us know already how it might look like. But the fact that we didn't have a full setback yet and sell back to the previous levels completely was quite interesting to see, I would say. This may well be fueled by the important visit of Scholz, the German Chancellor, to Beijing. Interestingly, he was speaking of a multipolar world, a term that possibly Washington, the US administration, doesn't like to hear, but maybe, although Germany is basically saying, we need to diversify our supply chains, still, they're also diversifying a little bit, not only relying on the US. That's also the news, and this has possibly strengthened the euro against the dollar. And as I said, the dollar is a very important metric to watch for Chinese stocks, for emerging markets, but actually for stocks in general. So it would be a very good sign if the dollar would weaken further. It's much too early to say if this will really happen yet. Then we had another important speech by President Xi. Maybe put in the direct video here so that you can hear it and judge for yourself. I mean, I am not relying on the media coverage about it. Just take his words, and then you'll see whether or not he will actually execute on that and follow what he has been saying there.
China remains committed to the fundamental national policy of opening up to the outside world, pursues a mutually beneficial strategy of opening up, and adheres to the right course of economic globalization. We will amplify the interplay between domestic and international markets and resources, strive to create new opportunities for the world with our own development, and contribute our share to building an open global economy. China will work with all countries and all parties to share the opportunities in its vast market. We will step up efforts to cultivate a robust domestic market, upgrade trade in goods, develop new mechanisms for trade in services, and import more quality products. We will establish pilot zones for Silk Road e-commerce cooperation and build national demonstration zones for innovative development of trade and services, so as to encourage innovation in trade and promote high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. China will work with all countries and all parties to share the opportunities from its institutional opening up. We will steadily expand institutional opening up with regard to rules, regulations, management, and standards. Put into full effect the new catalog of encouraged industries for foreign investment, and further develop the national integrated demonstration zone for greater openness in the service sector. We will implement the strategy to upgrade pilot free trade areas, accelerate the Hainan Free Trade Port development, and tap into their role as pilot platforms for comprehensive reform and opening up. China will work with all countries and all parties to share the opportunities from deepened international cooperation. We will engage fully and deeply in WTO reform negotiations, promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation, and enhance international macroeconomic policy coordination with a view to jointly fostering new drivers for global growth. We will endeavor actively to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, DEPA. to expand the globally oriented network of high-standard free trade areas. We will firmly support other developing countries and assist them in growing faster and promote the building of a community with a shared future for mankind.
Then another news just came out. NVidia is actually introducing a new chip, the A800, in China, and I think NVIDIA is making around 30% of their revenues in China, right? So it's quite an important market. So it was also a shock to them that the US administration decided to have licenses for exporting chips to China. So it doesn't mean that those chips cannot get to China, but it may become more difficult. And one important chip is an AI chip that runs in server centers, in server farms that are computing large data sets, for example, for image labeling. So that might be also relevant for, let's say, car companies working on autonomous driving, but certainly for more AI-focused companies like Baidu, for example. And remember when the US chip ban came out, Chinese stocks sold off, I think, around 10%, right? And well, today the news is this new NVIDIA A800 chip is actually quite similar in specs to the A100 chip that is part of these export restrictions. I'm not an expert in chips. All I can do is look at this data sheet, and yeah, lots of similarities, but notably, of course, the throughput is a bit lower for AI applications. So certainly less power. I think maybe half the power of the latest chipset that is coming out for NVIDIA, and thereby maybe achieving the goal that this cannot be used in the most powerful applications for the Chinese military, something the US administration officially wants to avoid. But I think at this point in time, we can say that there is much more about just preventing China from having access to these chips. It's also about basically protectionist policies, right, for the US there. But this example shows that, just a new name, a new chip, and certainly the US can, or US companies, in fact, can sell to China again. So it's quite interesting. I'm not expecting a 10% rally in Chinese stocks based on this news, but it shows you that how interdependent those markets are, how important, and that there will always be solutions. Does mean that NIO could, if they would need those chips, they basically stated that they don't need them because they have their server farms up and ready, that they could also get this new chip, which is not based on any license restrictions and subject to any restrictions for importing there, and have more of these chips in parallel instead of having one more powerful one. So that would be a workaround. But I'm not pretending to be an expert here on AI chips, just outlining here as an example here how things could go between the US and China in the future. So quick wrap up here in a way to get back to you, and then expect more coverage on Chinese stocks and NIO, of course, Tesla, and whatever comes up to my mind here on the channel. So make sure to subscribe, hit the notification button so you get an inbox notification whenever I put up a new video. Thank you guys for watching, and if you want to support this channel, please become a patron. Thank you guys, and have a good one.